All right, welcome back to the Nightly Sports Call. Ben said today that he has to stop looking at Antonio Brown so much. Brian Pawlowski just tweeted me, agree with Ben that he needs to look at the field, not just AB. What do you think, Gene?
I think he needs to complete more passes. I don't care who he looks at, who he throws it to. He's not good enough for whatever reason.
James Harrison sent out an Instagram today of him sitting on helmet at practice, and it said, practicing what I do at games. I thought it was pretty funny. Let's go out to Bob. Well, excuse me. Let's go out to Lou in Fox Chapel. How you doing, Lou?
Hi, guys. Question I have is about last Sunday's game. It seems to me James Harrison's one of the best tacklers against the run in the whole team. They didn't use him, and they were getting beat, going through him like a sieve. Well, is he hurt, or their coach is down on him? What's the story on him?
Yeah, I just think he isn't as good as the guys in front of him. You saw the one play that he was in on, he got completely burned out in coverage.
Yeah, I mean, James Harrison's stock has really fallen among the coaches. It reminds me of kind of Hines Ward toward the end of his career. You know, he couldn't get open anymore. That's the way James Harrison is. He's not really effective.
And I thought maybe that they were saving him for the end of the year so they could have a fresh body, a fresh James Harrison, but that doesn't look like the case right now. All right, back out to the phone lines. We're going out to Bob now in Garfield. How you doing, Bob?
Rich and Gene, how are you tonight?
Good, thanks for the call.
I hate to beat a dead horse and everything, but I'd just like to readdress the issue that is dominating the airwaves since the Sunday's protest of the national anthem and the flag. A guy called in Bob Pompiani, the post-game show, and told Bob Pompiani that he will never watch another Steeler or NFL football game again because of what he had witnessed. Now, I'm trying to wrap my mind around this.
I call that guy a liar.
And there's probably millions of like him around the country that tuned in every Sunday, okay, not caring about members of the league who are guilty of domestic violence, sexual assault, rape, and that knucklehead in Charlotte a couple years ago that killed his girlfriend that was 7 months pregnant because he didn't want to pay alimony because that would have kept him from getting his stolen Mercedes-Benz. The problem with our country is that's the way people think, and there's millions of them. It's not the protest of that flag or national anthem. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for your call, Bob. I appreciate it. And, yeah, I mean, a lot of people are sensitive out there. They're going to, I think there's a faction of people, Gene, they're going to critique no matter anything that you say and spin it any way that they want to. And, you know, this guy said someone called Pompiani on the post-game show and said he'd never going to watch a Steelers game. I call that guy a liar because I bet you he does watch a Steelers game at some point.
He might. I just want to say to that caller, I have no argument with anything he said. I thought that was a really good call.
Yeah, I did too. Call tonight. Thanks a lot, Bob. Let's go out to Jim out in Irwin. How you doing, Jim?
Yeah, I like to. And I hate to again beat a dead horse here.
Beat away.
Again.
I think the anthem. It's not. This thing is all not. It's not a First Amendment issue. I believe it's a workplace issue. These guys are going in as employees of the NFL and expressing their political opinions. And the NFL, I mean, they have a right, but the NFL, being employers, are letting this happen. They are letting them express their opinions. So I think Roger Goodell and the NFL, they are letting this, they are encouraging this, well, maybe not, but they are letting this go through and letting these guys take a knee. Whether you agree with it or not, the NFL is letting these guys, they're giving them a forum to do it as employees. Now, Rich, you're wearing a suit and tie, I see. Do you think your employer would like if you wore a T-shirt with one of your with a political statement that you believe in front on the air? So, I mean, if you want to express your opinion on Facebook or Twitter, hey, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
But you are an employee of a company, and that's a policy. From my understanding is the policy is you will stand. That's a company policy. When you work for a company, you have to abide by their policies. If you want,
you know, thanks a lot. I have to cut you off because we're getting close to a break. But, you know, it's a game operations rule, Gene, like we talked about yesterday. And, yeah, you have your right to free speech, right, the First Amendment. But, you know, there could be repercussions for it. I think that the NFL, if they wanted to stop this or wanted to do something, they should have done something last year and fined or whatever, and said you have to stand. If you're going to protest or do something, do it on your own time. If you were the NFL commissioner, how would you have handled it?
Well, we saw how the NFL commissioner handled it. He encouraged people to express their opinion if they want to do that, even though he's got a rule against doing it. So that's kind of where the NFL is on a lot of things. They can't make up their mind.
And if you were the commissioner, would you have done something last year, or?
No, I say let freedom ring.
Okay, you heard it. All right, we got to take a break. Back to wrap things up. Coming up next. Stay right there.